This document was never written to be presented to the public. On the contrary, it was intended to be systematically destroyed, its traces erased and removed entirely from the history of thought. Yet knowledge, especially suppressed knowledge, often finds ways to preserve its own existence. In the mid-1950s, during the final period of Albert Einstein's life, it is claimed that he gave a private interview that never reached the public. The content of the interview was immediately concealed, justified by the conditions of the time, and removed from official records. For many years, no evidence of this interview's existence could be found until the 21st century, when traces of this text surfaced during the examination of private documents belonging to an intellectual circle close to Einstein. The records that emerged do not follow the format of a conventional interview. This text is not a scientific paper. It is not an academic defense either. It is an intellectual statement made by a mind that spent its entire life attempting to decipher the structure of the universe at the moment it reached the limits of consciousness. The identity of the interviewer is unknown. However, the fundamental question he asked is clearly recorded. Professor Einstein, in your view, is death the absolute end of consciousness? According to the manuscript, a noticeable silence follows this question. Einstein remains silent for a long time before answering. Then he says, "I cannot answer this question on the basis of belief, because belief arises where knowledge is absent. I am no longer at that point." This response alters the course of the interview. The journalist, seeking to maintain scientific consistency, reformulates the question. But doesn't modern science define consciousness as a product of the brain? At this point, Einstein draws a clear distinction. Modern science focuses only on what it can measure, but measurement is not the entirety of reality. Consciousness is not a numerical phenomenon. It is a structural one. He then adds, "The conclusion I have reached is this. Life is not limited to biological processes. Death is not an end, but a transition." Although this statement may appear metaphysical, Einstein explains it through an analogy. Think of a radio frequency. When the receiver is turned off, the broadcast does not end. Only reception stops. The signal continues to exist in space. The body is the receiver. Consciousness is the broadcast. The journalist asks how this approach relates to physics. Einstein's response is systematic. Physics has explained the universe by excluding the observer. Yet, at the quantum level, without observation, there is no definition. Reality cannot be considered complete unless it is perceived. At this point, Einstein states that time and space are not absolute, but merely a framework structured for consciousness. He suggests that consciousness may exist outside this framework as well. His approach to the concept of God is not religious, but philosophical. God is not a personal being. God is the field of consciousness that makes all existence possible. Therefore, individual consciousness is a local expression of that field. Einstein explains his view that consciousness does not cease after death through the concept of continuity. He argues that consciousness transforms individual identity and integrates into a broader structure. Within this context, he also assigns a scientific place to the concept of love. Love is not a biochemical byproduct. It is the purest form of connection. And connection is the fundamental principle of the universe. In the later part of the interview, the ethical dimension emerges. Einstein states that the continuity of consciousness imposes direct responsibility on human actions. No thought disappears. No action is erased without leaving a trace. For this reason, he emphasizes that humanity's greatest danger is not the fear of death, but unconsciousness. In the final section, he issues the following warning. Technology is advancing rapidly, but if consciousness does not evolve at the same pace, this progress will become destructive. At the end of the interview, Einstein's words are recorded as follows. Death is not an end. It is a misunderstood point of transition. The final sentence reads, the only thing that is real is connection, and connection never disappears.